How to draw like Gachiakuta. Kinda. This video was supposed to come out a while ago, but I wanted to try to make it as helpful as possible. So a lot of things in here are kind of Frankenstein together, but overall, I think it'll give a general idea on how to mimic the style for any level of artist, like beginner, advanced. It's pretty much just a style breakdown, and during the breakdown, the footage will be me actually putting what I'm talking about to practice so you can see how I'm using it. If I have to make another video about drawing in this style, I will, just in case this one doesn't help many, but just let me know in the comments or something. Alright. First things first, her anatomy slash clothing. I'm putting slash clothing because her anatomy itself isn't all that difficult. Normally the characters are very thin without the clothing. For the most part, they're normally thin and tall. But what really makes the style pop is the way that she does her clothing. The clothing on these characters are very big, to say the least. Very detailed, very big. And like I said, it's a manga about garbage, so a lot of the clothing doesn't look too clean necessarily. It looks roughish. So, like I'm going to talk about later, that's where the hatching comes in. But for the most part, the anatomy is thin, tall, and the only thing that you'd have to worry about mainly is the clothing. So if you could do basic anatomy, you're good. Second, her faces. The facial expressions is what really makes this manga pop, in my opinion. Like, some of these are just flat out crazy, especially with the main character Ruto having probably the most expressive face I've seen in manga in a long time. And I've done a copy study on the art already, so heads up, going past this tutorial, doing the facial expressions might be the most difficult thing out of getting a grasp on this style as a whole. But if you can get that down, everything else will pretty much fall in line, even if you can't do the clothing that well. And since we're on the topic of the faces, I want to get into the hair a little bit too. The way I describe the hair is in clumps. It's not really one giant shape, it's more like tiny shapes put into one complete shape, if that makes sense. Like the main character, for example, his hair is in clumps if you just section off a lot of the parts. And I'm not just talking about the bangs, I'm talking about the entire thing. And a lot of the characters have that same type of clumped together shapes hairstyle, and it works really well. But it looks complicated, but it's not all that hard. Inking is simple. If you're on traditional, like how I was practicing for the copy study, you could really use, just a normal mechanical pencil. It's nothing really special about that when you're using traditional. For digital, I'd say use a normal textured brush. Anything that gives it a little bit of like roughness to the lines, and you'll be good. But it's not really like sketchy lines. The lines are pretty bold, and she mainly uses line weight for the outfits when it's indicating thicker parts of it, like Ruto's giant puff jacket or whatever it is, But besides that, I'd say just use a textured brush and focus on your line weight and you should be fine. Hatching. Last thing I want to get into is the way the hatching is. For digital, it's probably, I feel her hatching is a very key thing to get down to get her style. Now, I only practiced in the copy study for traditional, but for digital, to do her hatching, I've said hatching a lot, but to do her hatching, the best tip I could give is to follow the form of whatever it is you're doing the hatching on. So like the neck, follow the form of the neck, make it look like it's going around in a way. It feels like the way the hatching is, it follows whatever form that it's on. So I feel like if you just try your best to do that, you get to where you need to be. That all sounded super scuffed, but I'm keeping it. Alright, now for the part that people most likely clicked on, the actual drawing part. I'm going to try to draw my own OC in the Gachiakuta style and try my best to explain the thought process I had while doing that drawing. To be honest, there's not really much to say for this part. I followed basically every single step that I told you before this point, almost to a T, besides the hair part really, because the hairstyle is different, but I think the demonstration in the video gave a good idea on how to do it for yourself. But the most important part with doing my own was trying to get the lines done correctly, like the bold outlines and especially around the pants, because that's the only part of like the character design that actually is thick, because he wears a t-shirt. And then obviously getting the hatching down and things of that nature. But besides that, it's not 100 to the style of Gachiakuta, but I think it's pretty damn close. But like I said before, let me know if this helped. If it didn't, my bad. If it did, great. And yeah,